In the previous segment, we argued that the modern era has seen the decline of gods, but not the decline of religions. Numerous new religions have appeared over the last 300 years, and they had immense influence on the course of history. These religions mostly do not like the title religions, and they prefer to call themselves ideologies. But I will still call them religions because they play a similar part in human society and history as the old religions. They give superhuman legitimacy to human norms and values, to the human social system. Of all the new modern religions, perhaps the most important are the humanist religions. Humanist religions are religions that worship humanity, or more correctly, they worship Homo sapiens. Humanism is the belief that Homo sapiens has a unique and sacred nature, which is fundamentally different from the nature of all the other animals and of all other phenomena in the universe. Humanists believe that the unique nature of Homo sapiens is the most important thing in the world, and it is this that determines the meaning of everything that happens in the universe. The supreme good, according to humanists, is the good of Homo sapiens. The rest of the world and all other beings exist solely for the benefit of this one species. Now, all humanists worship humanity, but they do not agree on the definition of humanity. Humanism has split into three main rival sects that fight over the exact definition of humanity, just as rival Christian sects fight over the exact definition of God. They all believe in God, they just don't agree about this God, what it is. So all the humanists believe in humanity, they just don't agree what humanity is. Today, the most important humanist sect is liberal humanism, which believes that humanity is a quality of individual humans. According to liberals, the sacred nature of humanity resides within each and every individual Homo sapiens. And therefore, the supreme value of the world is the liberty of individuals. This is why liberalism is called liberalism, because it sanctifies the liberty of individuals. The inner core of individual humans, according to liberalism, is what gives meaning to the world and is the source of all ethical and political authority. Whenever we encounter an ethical or political dilemma, according to liberalism, what we should do is we should look inside ourselves and listen to our inner voice, the voice of humanity, and do what this voice tells us to do. The chief commandments of liberal humanism are meant to protect the freedom and sanctity of this inner individual voice against intrusion from outside and against all harm. These commandments are collectively known as human rights. Even though liberal humanism sanctifies humans, it does not deny the existence of God. It is in fact founded on traditional monotheist beliefs. The liberal belief in the free and sacred nature of each individual human is a direct legacy of the traditional Christian belief in free and eternal individual souls. If you don't believe in eternal souls and a creator God, it becomes embarrassingly difficult for liberals to explain what is so special about individual sapiens. So this is the first big humanist religion, liberalism, or liberal humanism. The second important sect of humanism is socialist humanism or socialism. Socialists believe that humanity is collective and not individualistic. Socialists hold as sacred not the inner voice of each individual, but the species Homo sapiens as a whole. Whereas liberal humanism seeks as much liberty as possible for individual humans, socialist humanism seeks equality between all humans. According to socialism, inequality is the worst blasphemy against the sanctity of humanity, because inequality privileges peripheral qualities of humans over their common universal essence. For example, when the rich are given privileges which are withheld from the poor, it means that we value money more than we value the universal essence of all humans, which is similar for everybody, for rich and poor alike. Like liberal humanism, socialist humanism, if we look carefully, we see that it too is built on monotheistic foundations. Just as monotheism is built on polytheistic foundations, so with the new modern religions too, nothing is completely lost. Monotheism, if you look carefully, it is still there, forming the basis for at least some of the new humanist sects. The idea that all humans are equal is a legacy of the monotheist conviction that all souls are equal before God. The only humanist sect that managed to break loose from traditional monotheism is the third main sect of humanism. It is evolutionary humanism. The most famous representatives of evolutionary humanism were the Nazis. Now, we don't usually think about the Nazis as being humanists, but the fact is that the Nazis too believed in the sanctity of humanity. What distinguished the Nazis from other humanist sects is that simply they took humanity to mean something else. They had a different definition of humanity than the liberals and the socialists. The Nazis were deeply influenced by the theory of evolution. In contrast to other humanists, the Nazis believed that humankind is not something universal and eternal and unchanging. Rather, they believed that it is a species of animals which can evolve or degenerate in accordance with the theory of evolution. The main ambition of the Nazis was to protect humankind from degeneration and extinction and encourage the evolution of humankind into supermen. This is why the Nazis said that the Aryan race, the most advanced form of humanity according to them, had to be nourished and fostered and protected, while degenerate kinds of Homo sapiens, like Jews and homosexuals and the mentally ill, they had to be, according to the Nazis, quarantined and even exterminated. The Nazis explained that Homo sapiens itself appeared when one superior population of ancient humans evolved and others, inferior populations, such as the Neanderthals, became extinct. These different populations were at first no more than different races, but they developed independently along their own evolutionary path, one being disappearing and the other becoming Homo sapiens. This might well happen again. According to the Nazis, Homo sapiens had already divided into several distinct races, each with its own unique qualities. One of these races, again according to the Nazis, the Aryan race, had the finest qualities: rationalism, beauty, diligence, integrity, and so forth. The Aryan race was therefore had the potential to turn men into supermen. Other races, such as Jews and blacks, they were, according to the Nazis, the Neanderthals of today, possessing inferior qualities. Now, biologists over the last few decades have proven that the Nazi racial theory is nonsense. in particular genetic research conducted after 1945, has demonstrated that the differences between different human lineages and populations are far, far smaller than what the Nazis postulated. But these conclusions are relatively new. Given the state of scientific knowledge in the 1930s, the Nazi beliefs sounded far more reasonable for many people, not only in Germany, but all over the world. The existence of different human races, the superiority of the white race over all the other races, and the need to protect and cultivate this superior white race were widely held beliefs not only among the elite of Germany and the population of Germany, but in all Western countries, in Britain and France, in the United States, in Australia, and so forth. In the 1920s and 1930s, scholars in the most prestigious Western universities, using common orthodox scientific methods, they published studies that allegedly proved that members of the white race were indeed more intelligent, more ethical, and more skilled than Africans or Indians. Politicians in Washington, in London, in Canberra took it for granted that it was their job to prevent the degeneration of the white race, for example, by restricting immigration to the USA or Australia of people from inferior countries like China or even Italy. So the Nazis did not hate humanity. They were not anti-humanist. They fought liberal humanism. They fought socialism and human rights precisely because they admired humanity and thought it was the most important thing in the world. The Nazis believed in the great potential of the human species to evolve further into supermen. But following the logic of Darwinian evolution, they argued that natural selection must be allowed to weed out unfit individuals and leave only the fittest to survive and to reproduce. According to Nazism, by helping the weak and the unfit, liberalism and socialism undermined natural selection. They not only allowed unfit individuals to survive, they actually gave them equal opportunity to reproduce. In such a liberal or socialist world, the fittest humans will inevitably drown in a sea of unfit degenerates. Humankind would become less and less fit with each passing generation, and this could lead to its extinction. You can see here before you a Nazi propaganda poster which illustrates this. It shows you can see here on the right, a racially pure Aryan, and on the left, the image of a crossbreed, a breed between an Aryan and some other race. The poster clearly attests not only to Nazi ideas about biology, but also the Nazi admiration for the human body and the fear that mixing lower races with a superior Aryan race might pollute men and cause its degeneration. Here you can see another Nazi cartoon which presents Hitler as a sculptor who creates the Superman. Note not only the goal, the ideal to create the Superman, but also note the erotic glorification of the human body. People who drew this cartoon, who believe in this ideal, these are people who really, really admire and like humanity. At the beginning of the 21st century, the future of evolutionary humanism is unclear. For the 60 years after the end of the Second World War and the defeat of Nazism, it became taboo to link humanism with evolution and to advocate using biological methods to upgrade Homo sapiens into some kind of Superman. But things are changing today. Today, such biological projects of creating Superman are becoming again popular. No one speaks today about exterminating lower races or killing inferior people as the Nazis did. But more and more people today contemplate using our increasing knowledge of human biology and genetics in order to create superhumans. At the same time, while evolutionary humanism is again in favor, a huge gulf is opening between the beliefs of liberalism, of liberal humanism, and the latest findings of the life scientists, a gulf which it becomes more and more difficult to ignore. The fact is that our liberal politics and our liberal judicial system are founded on the belief that every individual has a sacred inner nature, indivisible and immutable, which gives meaning to the whole world and which is the source of all ethical and political authority. This idea is a reincarnation of the traditional Christian belief in a free and eternal soul that resides supposedly within each of us. Yet, over the last 200 years, the life sciences have thoroughly undermined this Christian belief. Scientists who are studying the inner workings of the human organism have found no soul among all the organs and cells and so forth. Human behavior, according to the life sciences, is determined by hormones and genes and synapses and so forth, not by a soul possessing free will. Humankind, Homo sapiens, is basically similar to other animals like chimpanzees and wolves and ants in the way that it behaves. Our judicial and political systems have a hard time with this idea. Most of the time, they simply try to sweep these ideas under the carpet so we won't notice them in court or in politics. But in all frankness, how long can we go on maintaining this wall separating the Department of Biology from the Departments of Law and Political Science? How long can we keep ignoring the findings of the biological sciences about Homo sapiens when we come to the field of politics and law and so forth? We will return to these questions at the end of the course, when in the last lesson we'll examine the technological breakthroughs of the 21st century. But in order to understand these technological revolutions, like genetic engineering and cyborgs and so forth, we first have to understand the immense changes that occurred in the world over the last 500 years due to the rise of science, due to the scientific revolution. This will be the subject of the fourth part of this course. After surveying the cognitive revolution, the agricultural revolution, and the process of human unification, the fourth and last part of this course will examine the scientific revolution and the tremendous political, social, and economic impact that it had upon the world.